Mm, Great. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our first Edge uh, summer skills session for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, summertime. My name is Megan Harrison, and I am a research associate at the Center for Global Health, which is where Edge is originated. And yeah, you will see my name. If you're just joining the Edge community, you'll see my name a lot. I would love to invite everybody to just be really involved and interactive in this entire workshop and our whole series. We're really looking forward to connecting with each of you. And yeah, just seeing where we can add a little bit of value. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our presenter and our facilitator for today, Sloka Iyengar, PhD. Sloka is a scientist and a dancer, and she's a neuroscientist who is passionate about using the arts and the scientists for public benefit. She is a practitioner of traditional Indian dance, and she has created works to explore the convergence between arts and the scientists and the sciences, specifically between her style of Indian dance and neuroscience. And Sloka has been very involved in the Edge Network ever since the inception, and has been just a true joy to learn from. Her perspective with the arts, just being able to bring that into the global health world, has really broadened my horizons, and I know those of others in the network as well. So I would love to go ahead and invite Sloka to begin.
Thank you, Megan. Thanks to the Edge Network. Thanks to all of you for joining us. I hope you're all having a nice day, a nice week. And as we are getting started, I would love for, if you feel comfortable doing so, please put in the chat a few things. So I'll put those, if you could kindly put, if you feel comfortable, your name, you're sharing your LinkedIn info, where from the world you're calling in from. And then this I'm super interested in. Is there an art form that you practice or used to practice and or have a specific interest in? Could be pretty much anything. But what we really want to know is, I know many people have artistic talents outside of your public health work. So please go ahead, and as and when you feel comfortable doing so, please share and connect with us. I have a few slides that I've prepared, but throughout the course of our next hour together, please feel free to unmute yourselves. Megan has kindly agreed to facilitate, and if things come up, call them out, but please do stay involved and engaged as much as you can. So again, welcome. It's so nice to see all of you here. My name is Sloka Iyengar, and I hope, would love to learn where you're from, LinkedIn profile, so that we can connect with you. And then if you have an interest in some kind of artistic practice. So for the rest, for the next few minutes, over the next half an hour or so, I'll just introduce myself, talk about what other fields, what we can learn from other fields as far as artistic experience, knowledge from artistic experiences, applying them for conflict resolution, what we can learn from those, and then a few things from my own personal perspectives. And I think this is something I know Megan and I are very excited about, is giving us all a chance to practice. So I grew up in a city in India called Ahmedabad. It's in the western part of the country. The name of the state is Gujarat. Mahatma Gandhi was from Gujarat. So I grew up 15 minutes or so from where he started his freedom struggle. So a pretty historic place, and a place that really shaped a lot of the things that I have the privilege of doing today. From a very young age, I was fascinated with the stage. So it seemed that the stage had this capacity to make ordinary things extraordinary things that were already beautiful somehow became even more beautiful. And I remember going to shows, to dance shows with my mother when I was younger, and just taking it all in, the ambience, the how things were presented, lights, props, music. So I had this, I couldn't articulate it at that time, but I knew there was something very, very interesting and extraordinary about what the stage, or what a stage can do to the artistic experience. I practice a form of dance, which I'll talk a little bit more about. It's called Bharatanatyam. And here are a few images. I should also mention I'm calling in today from Uptown Manhattan. So these are a few images of my work with collaborators as a solo artist in my neighborhood and in my city. And I've been dancing since I was 5 or 6 years old. And after my undergrad, which was in Ahmedabad, I worked at an animal shelter. So I helped set up the first humane spay and neuter shelter for stray dogs in Ahmedabad. And that experience was really revolutionized how I thought about animal welfare, about myself, about working with people. So there were stray dogs. I used to do animal advocacy for our animals. Also a lot of advocacy on wildlife conservation. These are vultures that are found in Gujarat. So we would have, I was hands-on working with animals every single day, making cages for our vultures, making sure that our animals are okay. And it was through observation of animals that got me extremely interested in neuroscience. So trying to understand what makes us who we are. How do we, for example, know that we are hungry, we are thirsty? How do we regulate our temperature? How do we breathe? All of those things really got me interested in our brain. And I came to the US to do my graduate work in neuroscience. So for my PhD work, I was working on both for my PhD and postdoctoral work, I was working on epilepsy and seizure disorders. And on the, what is this, left? On the left, you'll find I was doing a technique called electrophysiology, which is recording electrical activity from either neurons or populations of neurons. And then on the right is, I was looking at postnatal neurogenesis, or the capacity of adult brains to produce new neurons. And you'll see here, the part of the brain called the hippocampus, and the markings, or these things which is a magnification of those, are these new neurons that are born in adulthood. So in some interesting way, the work at the animal shelter really helped get an interest in neuroscience. The form of dance I do is called Bharatanatyam. It is about a 2,000-year-old dance form, a traditional Indian dance form that originated in the temples of South India. And even the name has a meaning. So this dance, Bharatanatyam, comes from several syllables. Bha stands for bhava, or expression. So the predominant use, I don't know if use is a word, but the predominant reason for this dance to exist is that it is an expressive dance. Ra stands for raga. You might have heard the word raga, which is melody. And ta is for tala, or rhythm. And the word natya means dance, but it could also mean theater. So this is a theatrical dance form that includes expression, music, melody, and rhythm. So it's a ancient dance form, again, very originated in a very specific time and place. However, there is a systematized set of movements. There's hand gestures, facial expressions, a whole bunch of things, codified set of emotions. And it is a holistic dance form in the sense that it combines a whole bunch of things. So as practitioners of Bharatanatyam, we are, of course, taught the movement, music, symbolism of what we are trying to do, what the poet is trying to convey. There's iconography, there's philosophy. And at the end of the day, it is a way to tell stories. So there is storytelling, the art of storytelling, and literature. So it's really a holistic kind of a dance form that includes a whole bunch of things. And in the recent past, again, Megan mentioned trying to put the arts and the sciences together. This is an online production that pretty much came from all these ideas that I had. So I call it Vichar. Vichar is a Sanskrit word that means contemplation or thought. And the goals of this pretty wide project are to understand how the brain makes various aspects of Bharatanatyam possible, and then how are the impacts of Bharatanatyam, what are the impacts of Bharatanatyam on the brain of the practitioner and the audience as well. And in trying to use this dance form for public benefit, I've been trying to create the foundational work to use Bharatanatyam for creative aging. So I am at senior centers, having a whole bunch of fun with people 65 and older, and really adapting aspects of the dance form for people to be done seated, or if they feel, however they appeared that day, is how we dance together. And of course, my beloved Edge network, Megan, and really like spearheaded this movement. I do remember the early days of the pandemic, where it was, I'm sure we all remember this feeling of not knowing what's going on, not knowing what's going to happen. And really at that time, the Edge network and all the work that I had the privilege of doing with this network really was an amazing way to think about how we think about networking. How do we think about global public health? So this amazing artwork as well. I have to have a shout out for that. So welcome everyone. I hope you're if you're not part of the network already, please do so, and we would love to chat with you, hang out with you. At this point, I know Megan has an interesting poll prepared, so let me
Yeah, just 2 questions. Do you consider yourself an artist in any capacity, and how do you approach conflict?
Oh, love it. We have so many. We have people who love creating and designing. Oh, amazing. Oh, we have a ballet dancer. Oh my God, this is so cool. We do have a Bharatanatyam dancer.
I'm gonna end the poll so everybody can see the results. We have 25 out of 36 response. That's not too bad. So it looks like 20% say yes, art is my life. 80% says I don't know if I have talent, but I enjoy it. I think I fall in there. And really cool. Nobody says that they don't consider themselves an artist in any capacity. That's really interesting. And then how do we approach conflict? 28% of us approach it head on. 28% avoid it completely, and 44 find themselves somewhere in between. Oh, I should share the results there.
Very cool. Thank you. Always nice to know yeah, what our folks are thinking, right? So thank you to Megan for making that poll, and to all of you for doing it. So let me awesome. So there is some work that has been done in looking at the role of arts in conflict resolution. You might have heard the term psychodrama. This was a term that was new to me as even last year. And it is really a type of therapy that incorporates aspects of theater, of role-playing, dramatic self-representation, and group dynamics to help people gain a greater understanding and insight into their lives and experiences, how they react to things. I know people who are very, very active in this field, and it is really something that they feel very, very strongly about. So that is one area where a type of therapy which is used to resolve trauma, maybe some eating disorders, relationship issues, of course, has shown benefits already. There has also been some work in using the arts to resolve conflicts in youth and adolescence. Not a whole bunch of work, but certainly something that is out there. So the National Endowment for the Arts has a pretty interesting report that talks about how this is for after-school program, on how facilitators in after-school programs can again use the artistic knowledge from the arts to help resolve conflicts. So as we go on to a few of my thoughts and explorations, why look at the arts, right? So why look at the arts to resolve conflict in this particular context? Before I go on, I do have a few disclaimers. I'm not a professional mediator. I'm not somebody, I think there's a name for people who go and resolve conflicts in like an organizational setting. I do not have that training. Also, my knowledge comes from really Bharatanatyam and the dance form that I've had the pleasure and privilege of practicing over the last 30 years. Of course, there's many art forms that I don't know much about. So there's creative writing, sculptures, whole bunch of things. And I think this is where I feel like having this group of people. So if you have any other ideas, I feel like it'll be an amazing opportunity to really think of this in a holistic sense with all of our artistic expertise combined. With those disclaimers, with my limited knowledge and the fact that these are observations and an exploratory conversation, I will say that the impact of artistic knowledge for this particular purpose, so thinking of resolving conflict in the setting of global health leadership, is unexplored. And the super unique and interesting thing about artistic practices is that they are typically culturally specific. So, for example, in India, each state has its own dance forms, and these are specific to the livelihoods of people, to the lives of people. So there is this possibility that the role of the arts in resolving conflict the arts could be uniquely relevant and effective to the situation at hand. And what I have next is, again, a set of observations and explorations on my talking to my colleagues, in the artistic field, and then thinking about what are some of the skills that might benefit us as leaders trying to resolve conflict. So the arts really promote self-reflection and self-awareness as artists, as people training to be artists. We have to be able to honestly and critically look at our strengths and weaknesses, and that is an essential part of our artistic training. And when we think of leadership styles, and when we think of leaders, we have to be able to influence ourselves and others. And to do that, we need to understand ourselves, what our working styles are, what our values are. And if you're unclear about what makes us who we are, it is unlikely we'll be able to influence others. So this fact that through the arts, we can gain self-reflection and self-awareness could be pretty relevant to resolving conflict. As people, again, we are one of the things, especially for storytellers amongst us, we have to be able to look at a situation from various perspectives. This image that you see on the slide is from one of my performances where I was trying to dance this poem where the poet, he had one image or one picture of his mother that he seems to have lost. So through this song or through this poem, he's trying to recreate his mother's face. And it's a very sad, very sad kind of situation. And of course, not a situation that I'm completely familiar with, but in trying to emote in a way that's authentic and true to us, it enables us to identify with the character in parts, even if we don't identify with them completely. And this capacity to think of, okay, I have never lost, my mother's photo, but I have lost my mother. And what are some of the things, how would I feel if I had lost the only photo that I had of her, that I couldn't even remember her face? And putting ourselves in a situation can really help us understand situations from other perspectives, consider other beliefs, experiences, and viewpoints. Art can also help build empathy. Again, looking at the situation from various perspectives can help us understand how other people are thinking, why are they reacting the way they are reacting. For example, if you want to write a screenplay, to understand a colleague's motivation. And of course, no news to us, but empathy can diffuse tension, create an environment that is safer, more collaborative environment for conflict resolution. Clarity in communication. So as many of us in the artist, with even with some little bit of experience, we know that clarity is everything. In Bharatanatyam, for example, when we are showing a story, and imagine we are, as a solo dancer, there are 3 characters. So one of my jobs is to make sure, for example, if my left is the character of my friend, I shouldn't be doing anything else in that space. So that clarity as to having certain spots, certain spaces for certain characters, and keeping that placement consistent. Again, it is a dance form where we are not speaking. So that clarity, that making sure that people are clear as to what's happening is extremely important. And of course, clarity in the spoken and written word, of course, helps, better organize, prioritize tasks. And again, no news to all of us, but clear and direct communication is really important to resolve conflicts. Team building. I wish it was so cool if we were not on Zoom, to actually do this together. But improv, painting a mural, creative writing, all of these things could be really interesting to strategically use to help build team cohesion. Expressing our emotions. In Bharatanatyam, there is a set of emotions that are called 9 emotions. These are codified, systematized set of emotions. And in pieces, when we think of emotions, we are thinking of them in their entirety, in all their complexity. So when I work with older adults, and we are talking about the theme of love in Sanskrit is called Shringara, and Shringara, or this feeling of love, is something that permeates everything that we do, even in pieces where we're showing grief. So it gives us an opportunity to think about how grief and love come together, how love and humor come together. So really thinking of emotions not as monoliths or as a singular entity, but sometimes a combination of feelings, perhaps even conflicting feelings, and having that knowledge of emotion, of emotional intelligence, can help manage, of course, our emotions and those of our teammates in times of conflict. Difficult conversations, being aware of how our tone might appear to others, being able to proactively think about it is, of course, a very important part of any performance training. One of the things that could be interesting is, how might I say this on stage? And again, this fascination of mine with the stage and how the stage really transforms things could really help us rehearse, anticipate questions, prepare responses, really think of the sequence of events that might occur and how we might respond to each one of them. Active listening, of course, many of us might have done improv, might have tried it, and listening actively, giving the other person our full attention and making sure that we understand their perspective can, of course, help build trust and a positive environment for conflict resolution. This is risk-taking. I thought this was interesting because the idea for this talk was really kind of a fragment. And I know, Megan, when you sent the emails to see if I was, this could be interesting. And when it finally came to preparing this talk, there is a satisfaction of putting so it's a safe environment, love Edge, love Anna, love Megan. So it's really in a safe way, bringing our ideas into fruition. And a performance is by definition time-bound. So if we try something and, if it doesn't work out, really we're not doomed. So really trying different kinds of things in a way that is safe is another opportunity that the artistic experience could provide. Many of us might also identify with the physicality, right? So, people who act, people who dance, people who play musical instruments, we have to practice our breathing. That is a very important part of of our artistic journey, of our artistic training. During a performance, of course, we have to stay calm. We are hyper aware of the situation, yet we have the presence of mind to change course if needed. If I show up for a performance, if I find out that the music that I sent them is not playing, right? So I have to make sure that I have, first of all, I have backups of backups, and I'm able to calmly and in a seamless way have the music and have the whole make sure that the artistic experience is not compromised for the audience. And of course, during conflict, emotions are running high. Of course, it's important to stay calm and focused, and so that we are not escalating the situation. And the power of rehearsal. So I think many of us might know, for a performance that might be, even an hour long, we typically spend hundreds of hours rehearsing. And of course, the rehearsal is not necessarily for that performance. I work with my guru a couple of times a week, and we're always rehearsing in a way. So rehearsing makes it so that the physical actions are more or less automatic, so we can do those things, and we're able to respond to unexpected things that might come up. I dance bare feet, and when I'm outside, there may be pebbles, there may be twigs, there may be acorn things, and the only reason I'm able to navigate through all of that is because I've spent time preparing, hopefully. And describing a situation mentally, practicing it with a friend can make confrontational, potentially confrontational conversations easier. So speaking of practice and rehearsal, I know, Megan, we have a few things planned.
Yes, we do. So we have, I just love, thank you, Sloka, so much for that overview. I love hearing your trajectory from, being a little girl and dance all the way to your budding interest in neuroscience, working with the animals, and then all the way through to the your neuroscience PhD, and then connecting that all to dance at the end. Really fascinating, and such a cool way, a truly interdisciplinary trajectory. And I think, in the field of global health, I think, so many of us have these different facets, maybe not necessarily with dance, but maybe with something else. And I just love seeing two, like, what could be extremely polar different things coming together in such a cohesive way. And I think that is just really inspiring for those of us who are, also multifaceted humans who have different interests and are kind of carving our way here as emerging leaders in the field of global health. And I think I just love how you picked out those different aspects of like the artistic way, and how those can really connect